Belina Show, Wednesday, second hour, lunchtime, thanks to Rudy's Barbecue, the home of the green chili stew. Well, Wednesday, second hour, we're joined inside the Charles Schwab studio by Tony Catalina. He's with the Austin American Statesman. He is the A&M beat writer for the Austin American Statesman. Dude, how's your world?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm awesome. I'm spring sporting it now. We got rid of that, well, not so Super Bowl. And it's time to just focus on diamond sports. It's just time to have fun. And diamond sports are so casual and relaxing. And, you know, if you go to the ballpark, whether it's baseball, softball, right? You just hang out with your friends. The weather, generally speaking, is beautiful. I'm ready for that time of the year.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Obviously, I enjoy basketball, love football, but I've always had a soft spot for covering baseball. It's something about going to the ballpark. It just being, you know, a beautiful day out, like you said. You know, some of the smells, the sights, the sounds. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for the, you know, a little bit more warm weather and a little bit of outside time. You
did the triple header on Saturday. I want to start with Aggie Baseball. They did the open for the fans, the public practice scrimmage. What'd you see? What'd you think?
Baseball was, you know, impressive. A lot of the, you know, I've been bullish on it. I did a podcast for it, kind of season preview, talked about how I was probably a little bit more optimistic than a lot of people seem to be.
Oh, I saw the title on your Twitter X post about it, and you were selling.
Yeah, I mean, but you know how I am by now. Like I'm shooting it straight how I see it, and you know, if I'm wrong, I'll come back to that. I'll quote tweet it myself and say, hey, I was wrong. But I look at this team and I look at, you know, just some of the things that were on display were really impressive. Now, it was Aiden Sims on the mound versus Clayton Freshcorn, and those guys seemed to be battling out for Sunday starter role, right? And so the top two guys didn't take out any action, but Aiden Sims had 7 strikeouts. He was sitting in the, you know, mid to low 90s the whole time, and he had some good stuff, like he really did. And then Clayton Freshcorn, we already know he can throw the ball really hard, and he's impressive. He unfortunately seemed to be, in my estimation, I think a lot of people, he faced off against the white squad, which looked like it was filled with a lot of starters. And, you know, the first at bat was Gavin Grahovac hitting 111 mile per hour fastball off the left foul pole. So he is one of those reasons why I'm really bullish on this team. A healthy Gavin Grahovac, especially sliding over to first base and getting some other guys some opportunities to play on the other side, some of these younger guys. He's just somebody that changes that lineup completely. Add in Caden Sorrell, you add in, you know, Chris Hakopian, who is going to be, you know, shortstop, second base, the middle infield guy who was an all Big Ten selection last year. Now you got some really good bats in the middle of the order. Now where this team can elevate themselves is, what do you get from Terrence Keel? What does it look like from Bear Harrison? You know, what do we get from some of these other positions, and what's the weekend pitching look like? So I'm a little bullish. I saw a lot of positive signs there. Nothing really too negative. I mean, you look at it too. Nico Pardita and Boston Kellner, those are 2 freshmen that figure to be a big in the mix there. They have some talent. They just got to put it all together.
So, with opening weekend, Friday, Tennessee Tech, 6 o'clock. You hear Aggie Baseball every game, home, road, postseason, SEC tournament right here on the Zone, 1150 a.m. and 93.7 FM. You can listen on the Zone app. You can listen at radioaggieland.com, and you can tell Alexa, play Zone 1150. What is the weekend? What's the starting rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it yet officially. My idea, if we're just talking right now, and if it comes out while we're on the air, great. I've been looking forward to see it. But I think it's Shane Sadeo, and I think it's Weston Moss on Saturday. And then I think Sunday, I think they're going to lean Aiden Sims. Just the way he pitched, and if that was a competition, and if those two, I think coming into it, I think Clayton probably had the upper hand. You know, a guy who's, you know, been in high leverage situations, someone who can throw the ball really hard. But I think it's hard to deny what Aiden Sims was able to do against, you know, some good bats. Right? He was 7 strikeouts, and I don't care. It was in 6 innings, so he pitched, you know, 5 innings of work, and he had struck 7 guys out. Didn't really put many balls in play. Really impressive work. Now, I also think they like the idea of having Clayton Freshcorn in the bullpen if they need to bolster that. Somebody maybe that's, you know, middle relief, potentially a closer. So I think their pitching is going to be better than a lot of people give them credit for. But if you ask me, that's how I think it shakes out.
Sadeo gets Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday is?
Weston Moss.
And then Aiden gets on Sunday.
That's my guess. If they went Clayton Freshcorn, I wouldn't be surprised, but I kind of just laid out why I think Aiden maybe gets the bump on Sunday.
So Freshcorn is the closer. Which is what he was projected coming into the season.
Yeah, and they also have Ethan Darden who could close, and they got some other guys, that can close.
So what's the bullpen look? No particular order. I mean, you would have to say mid and set up. But what does the bullpen look like then?
So it's either A, Aiden Sims, or B, Clayton Freshcorn. Would be a big piece of that. And then you look at Juan Vargas, who comes over from Tennessee Tech, so I think it's going to be a revenge weekend for him. And then you're looking at, like I said, Ethan Darden, some of those pieces. They have 3 or 4 guys. They got some younger guys, Hunter Vincent, who maybe figures into that. He looked pretty strong. He struck and sat Caden Sorrell down looking in the game. So if you can step up and do that against one of the best hitters in this lineup, I think you're going to be just fine against most teams. But I think they're still trying to sort that out. We have some of the names that we know. Having Caden McCoy not be in the mix hurts. So that's one piece of the puzzle. But I think there's 3 or 4 guys that I mentioned that you're going to sit there and say, okay, these are the people that we're going to lean on.
I think they need consistency. Last year, they got pitching in spurts. And, one weekend your Friday guy was good. The next weekend it was Saturday. The next weekend it was Sunday. But you never got consistency. You actually did not know in any given weekend what you were going to get from your starting pitchers or your bullpen. And you can't plan. If I could, when Early was going to the pen, I feel like he just had to roll the dice. And whoever's number came up, because he got no consistency from the pitching staff. They got to get some. And I know, I'm not saying everyone needs to be an ace, but man, if you could just count on something, you can at least have a plan.
No, for sure. When you look at it, too, when I look at the pitching, why I'm a little bullish is right. Last year, you didn't get the absolute best of Ryan Prager. Now, to his credit, when it was big games against Texas, when it was, SEC tournament, he stepped up in big moments. But those mundane, just, middle of the season games, it just felt like he didn't have his best stuff at all times. That happens, right? It just is what comes with the territory. You're not going to have your best stuff every game. But when I look at this team, Shane Sadeo has long been looked at as the best pitching prospect on the team. Even when he was hurt last year, he still had MLB draft looks. People are wondering if he was going to go out and kind of just forego the season. He's stepping up, and I think he could be, maybe not, and maybe a little bit more volatile than what we've seen from Ryan Prager in a game-to-game situation, but I think his high-level stuff could be more tantalizing than Ryan Prager. So I think you get a guy on Friday, if that's how it shakes out, that is really impressive and can get people out in bunches. Saturday, when you look at Weston Moss, you find more consistency. That guy was there. I think he was probably the most bulldog of their pitchers last year. You bring him in on a Tuesday, he's shutting down midweek action. You bring him in high leverage situations, and he's bringing energy. Like the way he attacks batters and the way he's amped. If you ever watch him coming off the mound, he is somebody who's full of energy. He's full of he's just the intensity that you need for this team if they're going to take a next step. So I'm encouraged by Weston Moss. I know probably not as consistent early on. Probably that's why he was on a midweek. But when we talked to Michael Early, he said, hey, this is a guy that probably should have been on the weekend, going forward beforehand. So I think the real question mark is what that high water mark is on Sunday. What's Aiden Sims, Clayton Freshcorn look like? If those guys are better than some people anticipate, then I think we're in a good spot. If they're lower, it becomes a scary proposition.
You have created a concern in my head. If you don't know who your Sunday starter is, then you don't know who your Tuesday starter is.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who your Tuesday starter is, you create losses you can't afford to have because you don't have a Tuesday starter.
Sure. And so, yeah, a lot of the times, whether it's Weston Moss or if they went for a bullpen outing, I think they found a way to scrap in the midweek. You'd rather have a little bit more answers there than they got. But it's early season. When I look at this team and what they trotted out last year, and we all understand how it went, they had guys like Jacob Galloway in the lineup, and they had guys like Gavin Grahovac who only played 6 games. So what you're going to see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday might not necessarily what you see come April, May in that sense. So I think it'll all sort itself out, and ultimately they have talent. I understand that it's do or die here as far as get some wins and get to a regional, maybe a super regional to save jobs. But the talent is there. They just got to go out there and put it on the field.
We're hanging out with Tony Catalina, Boston American Statesman. He joins us inside the Charles Schwab studio. And if you have a question for Tony, text me 979-693-1150. Light up the Texas Mobile One Loop Express inbox. Text 979-693-1150. Okay, I figured we could wait a month or so, but how hot is the seat? My mind really hasn't ventured into that space because I feel like if he makes a regional, he's fine. But is that enough? Is that the min? I mean, how hot is that seat?
you had a team that was consensus number 1 last year, and obviously the discourse online is going to be toxic. But when you look at a team like this, you got to find a way to produce on the field, right? You have to find a way to produce the field. I think that's just the gravity of the situation. He understands that. How hot the seed is just depends on how they look, to me, in my opinion, right? If they go out there and they make a regional and, they're 1 out away from a super regional, or maybe they do get into a super regional, I think he's safe.
Oh, I think super's easy.
Yeah.
You make a super,
right,
and you're one of the final 16 teams in the country.
Right, you got to be
That's an easy call.
For sure. I think the minimum floor is you have to make it to the playoffs, right? You have to make it in the tournament, and then from there, what it looks like from there is what it determines, right? Just making it to the dance isn't going to be enough, in my opinion. You got to go out there and find a way to win some games, potentially advance for him to stick around.
It's fast. I don't know what the answer is. That's why I asked you.
Sure.
I almost feel like making it would be enough, because do you judge him from the start of last year, or do you judge him from where they ended last year? Because the way things finished last year, if he gets them to the tournament, he moved the program forward.
Yes.
If you judge it from when they were number 1, just making it's not enough. So where's the judge it from point for Michael Early evaluation?
It's tough, though, because when you look at preseason rankings, how many of them actually come true or actually real? Like last year, they were consensus.
So true.
You know what
So
I mean?
true.
Consensus number 1, and everyone was high on the horse, and they didn't exceed the relative expectations of anybody who had thought, right? But you also didn't think that injuries would be as bad as they were. You didn't think that all these situations would shake out. No excuses, just the reality. Now you sit here in this season, year 2, everyone's down on them. Everyone says they're going to finish 13th in the conference. Like the
Which
coaches,
is still 26th to 35th in the country, by the way.
right? Yeah.
How
sure.
insane is that?
That's insane, right? It's just the conference you're in, but to finish 13th in the SEC. Like, I just think I talked about it on the video you referenced, like, there's a course correction here of overanalyzing. I think it's one of those things where you're going to figure out that this team is much better than people are giving them credit for, and I don't know if people will be as allowed with the credit as they will be with the disrespect.
Never. It doesn't ever work out. I know. I can answer that. No one ever gives credit for success half as much as they discredit failure, kind of thing.
Sure.
The negativity is always doubly as strong as the positivity.
Yeah, and that's why you get people like me who try to keep you in check with it, because, listen, I'll own it. If come May, and we're in the SEC tournament in Hoover, and they're not playing the way that they needed to, and it's just another season, I'll raise the hand, I'll quote that tweet and say, hey, I was wrong. But right now, I'm not expecting many people to do the same if it goes the other way.
Not at all. So the season starts Friday, so you got to make your preseason predictions for me. Where will they finish in the SEC? They were picked, 13th? That's the coaches?
Yeah.
That was the SEC predictions, 13th. Where are you picking Aggie Baseball?
I think I got them somewhere in the 8th.
Wait, you said 1?
1 would be, I don't think our last segment would even be a conversation. He finishes 1. But give me top 10. I think top 10 is safe. I'll probably have them settle in about 8th. Okay.
So dead men.
Yeah, right in the middle. I don't think they're the bottom floor of this division. I don't think they're the top either. They're going to scrap against teams they shouldn't have, like they did last year. They maybe have to battle against some of the lower tiers, but I think it'll settle right around the middle.
So you answered question 2. Yes, they will make the NCAA tournament.
I believe so, yes.
8 will not be hosting, so you have them on the road. Mm-hmm. Will they make a super? I know you'd like to see where they're going, but hey, that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
I waited till the week of, at least. I didn't ask you 2 months ago.
I will say I'm tend to say no. Right? You say here and say this team that finishes middle of the pack with some question marks. I don't know if I'm going to sit here comfortably and say they're one of the 16 best teams in the country. They're top 25 right now in the coaches poll. Could they shake their way into that? Absolutely. But I as positive as I am, I got to see it to believe it to get that far.
Let's see. If they're 8 in the SEC, they will be ranked going into the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough to host, most likely.
Yeah.
Depends on who they beat in SEC play. They could have an RPI.
Sure.
That puts them into the top 16. They could host at 8th. And the SEC is so messed up.
Crazy, isn't it?
Because if you beat the right teams, your RPI actually goes insane. And you can be 8th and still have a better RPI than 6th and be in a hosting advantage over a team that's higher than you in the standings. SEC baseball, not only does it just mean more, it's also just a lot weirder because it's so brutally hard. It's who you beat, not just the number of wins, too.
Right.
So, okay, you're building up a fascinating season. I just know I can't wait for it. I want to see it. And I almost look at it as a science project. How much did you learn? Right. How much did you learn from last year?
Yeah. And from our conversations, I've got to meet with, Michael Early a handful of times, just candid conversations, off the record, on the record. Just he, to me, in my estimation, is the guy who feels a lot more comfortable in his skin, feels a lot more comfortable in the role, right? Like, and that means something. I think there's value in the fact that you sit here and understand, I've learned from my year one mistakes. I understand what I want year two to look like. And, asking questions of players like, what does Michael Early look like? And the guy that's always been the coach's coach, the player's coach, and somebody who's been your bro and he's been your guy, a little bit more stern, a little bit more direct than what he's asking for of his players. And I think there is a delicate line between, hey, I'm going to be your buddy, but in between these lines, like, we got a job to do.
I remembered the last question I wanted to ask you about Aggie Baseball. Should there be concern when your hitting coach, he wasn't fired, he wasn't renewed because of his side gig a month before the season? I mean, that is unusual.
Yes, I would say in a vacuum, it doesn't look great, right? But talking too early, he's somebody who's already taken the reins of the hitting stuff back.
When?
Over the offseason.
Did he do it in August? Did he do it in December? Did he do it a month before?
He did in the fall.
Okay.
This is something. So when we met with him first time this offseason, right day one of baseball kicking off, we asked him, and it was asked several times because it was the day that it happened with the coach leaving there. And he said, I don't understand. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, I don't really understand the question. I've took over hitting months ago. Right, so this is something, he's a hitting coach by trade, by nature. This is how he's kind of made his bones in this world. And for him, he's already taken full reign, been in the cage. Everybody says he's a constant presence in that factor anyway. So maybe it's not ideal, but I don't think the logistics of it is all that different here than it was already going to be.
Okay. If he took over in December, that's one thing. If he took over in August, it's another. And if he took over in August, what was this guy that was not renewed doing for the team?
Sure. I would say
I just everything about it is weird to me.
It's sure. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that aren't like being publicly known or whatever the case may be. Some instances, it doesn't necessarily mean it's insidious. But what I'm saying though is I think the way year one ended in their numbers as a hitting team last year, I think Early right off the bat said, hey, if I'm going down swinging, I'm going down swinging on my own accord. So I think it's been his idea that he was going to take over the hitting for a long time now.
I agree. Just December's one thing, August is another. If it was August, why was he still coach anyway? That's kind of my logic of it all.
Sure. Well, you still need somebody in the spot, in the role. Just how much you do and how much you delegate probably changes. It could be me or you in that spot if Early's going to do it.
I'd pick you.
Either way, if Early's going to take over, you still need someone in the role.
You want to talk buckyball?
Let's do it.
When we return, A&M, Missouri. 8 o'clock, Reed Arena. We will talk buckyball. It's the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, and community. Tony Catalina, Boston American Statesman. It's a Wednesday thing here on the Louie Belina Show, here on The Zone.
We are going. Are you ready? The Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. This is a place for winning games. The Zone.
It's time. Oh, here we go.
Let's go.
The Louie Belina Show. A reminder, you can text. People text. Texting's easy. Texting's fun. It's the world we live in. But you can also call me on the D4 Land Services hotline. Tony Catalina right now is inside the Charles Schwab studio, but most guests join me on the D4 Land Services hotline, like Cedric Golden, which Tony happens to know because they work together. No, they don't. Everybody's remote. Nobody works together. There's no such thing as offices. But Cedric tomorrow will join me on the D4 Land Services hotline. Rusty Burson joins me on the D4 Land Services hotline. Mitch Light joins me on the D4 Land Services hotline. And if you ever need your land fixed up, excavated, cleared, you need forestry, mulching, pond construction, you need a metal building, go check out D4landservices.com. D4landservices.com. Tony, tonight, this isn't a big game. I don't even know if it's a pivotal game, but you want to get back on track. You got 8 games to go. Missouri's a team that's on that last 4 out kind of thing, like next to second last team. Beat A&M. It should put them into the bracketology with 7 to go, so they still have time too. But this is just about beat the teams you're supposed to. You're at home. Midweek is always hard on the road team. This is back to taking care of business kind of thing, I feel like, for buckyball.
Yeah, and I think because of the way the last 2 games, I would actually give it the moniker of being a big game.
Okay.
Like, you can't afford to lose this game. Losing 3 in a row and having one of these be them. Now, Missouri, they can beat you. They've beaten Florida. They've beaten other teams. They are a capable squad. But a loss to Missouri on your chart, is not quite the same as Florida and Alabama, right? So you got to go out there and handle business on your home floor. If they shoot the way they did last time they were out on that court, it's not going to go well for them again.
You don't beat a lot of teams like that. No. You don't beat a lot of teams.
And I think Bucky had a great quote yesterday where he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, hey, we shot from half court, we'd probably do better than 1 for 27.
Saw that.
Yeah, it's a great quote, and he's right. And he had told us all season long, hey, there's going to be some days you're going to be like, man, this team can't hit a shot, and there's going to be some days be like, this team can't be beaten. And that just happened to be against the Florida team where they look like one of those teams that could not hit a shot. So big game, big opportunity, find a way to get back in the win column. That puts us at, we're still on schedule. Everything we talked about last week, right? If they can find a way to get out of this, stretch of games, 2 wins, 3 wins, they're in a good spot. They lost to 2 teams that are very good, but don't let that bleed into this very winnable game here.
I took a look earlier at Missouri, and they beat Florida, and that is a signature win.
Sure.
But that's it. They don't have another signature win.
No.
They've lost to every team but Florida of any value. They got destroyed by Alabama. They lost a tight one, but they still lost to Georgia. They played Kansas, lost by 20. They played Illinois, who's a top 20 team out of the Big Ten, and they got utterly destroyed. Not competitive at all. They played Notre Dame, who this year is not the usual Notre Dame, but still, and they lost that one. I mean, Florida is your skin on the wall, your marquee. But other than that, you have to, they beat Kentucky. Hold on. Let's go back, right?
Sure.
I'm working hard here, man. I'm looking. But, they beat Kentucky, which is a dub. They're a good team that I think is not special in any way, shape, or form, but they're a good team.
Yeah, they're a good team, and they beat teams with their style. They got length, and they can go toe-to-toe with a team like Florida because they have the matched-up length. But I believe that style make match fights, right? And styles make fights.
Styles always make fights.
In this sense, Missouri is the worst team in the SEC at defending the three-point shot. A&M is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the SEC and one of the top 10 best teams in the country at three-point shots. If you're looking to remedy your bad three-point night from a couple days ago, this is the team you want to go against.
But A&M, look, but is that true? Because here's the A&M is about A&M almost more than their opponents because A&M misses open, A&M makes open.
Sure.
A&M creates their own open even at times.
Yeah.
They should have more open than normal, but if they're cold, they're cold, and when they're hot, they're hot. Like, the opponent is not as important. I feel like sometimes, I know they are. I'm not that
sure.
dumb. I mean, some days I am, but you know how that goes. and you get what I'm saying on that?
Yeah, okay. The way they lost to Alabama was not in the same vein that they lost to Florida, where Alabama, they still put up 97 points, and Alabama was just better offensively to hit the century mark. But then you look at a team like Florida, all that height, all that range, all that defensive prowess, you couldn't get in the paint, you couldn't get inside and kick back out for settling from a good shot to a great shot. They couldn't play their style because Florida just wouldn't allow it. And Missouri doesn't have the same facilities that attack you the same way. If they're not good at defending the three and you give A&M ample amount of chances, shooters are going to end up shooting. And I think they're going to find a way to kind of, because like I said, you can't go 1 for 14 in the first half, 1 for 27 and expect that to be what this team is going to look like every single night.
I want to give Missouri more credit. The more I keep staring at them, I feel like I was oversimplifying them because Florida is their signature win, but they won since SEC play started, actually. And start SEC play. Big win in Lexington. They won a game, and that's when Kentucky was a complete train wreck, and they were threatening to fire Pope, and now they're winning games. First half, second half kind of thing. But still, give them credit. They went there and they got the dub, and they also have a win at Auburn. That was at home for them, just like A&M. So they got 3 wins on the plus side, I guess you'd say, early versus late. But they also lost LSU, who is sliding their way into Bolivia, as Mike Tyson would say. I mean, I'm going to stick with good, not special in any way.
Yeah.
They got some signal, which is why they have, hey, Lenardi nailed it. That's why they're on the, that last 4, the last 4 out, second team.
Sure. And it's dangerous, right? Because like we mentioned before, they're a team that can beat you, but if the end of this game and the clock hits 0, you're not feeling good about a loss. Right? Like, it isn't, okay, you say they got talent, they've beaten teams, they've proven they can beat teams. But if you're one of those teams they beat, you're probably sitting there saying, how did we get to this point?
You got to do you, and you should beat them. If you don't do you, they beat you. But you should control the narrative.
Yeah. At home floor, coming off of 2 losses, I don't know how more motivated or locked in this team could be. And I guess how they come out of this game will be for some people like us. You cover it verbally, I write about it. Like, we'll learn a lot about this squad, how they shake out after 2 losses, especially a bad one. We'll know a lot more about this team and what the real makeup is, I think, at about midnight tonight.
I was talking with Logan Lee yesterday, and A&M has their spot kind of, I think, marked out. I mean, there's 8 games to go, so you have time to define yourself. 8 games, 2 a week. That means there's a month heading into March, the Madness, the SEC tournament. Right now, I think their spot is this. They're not a top 25 team. They're 26-35, and they're a really good 26-35 team. Mm-hmm. They've not beaten a top 25 team all year.
Right.
Still haven't done it. They haven't lost to a bad team, though. See, they don't have a bad loss on the entire schedule.
Sure.
So their niche is right there. That's who they are.
Yeah.
You beat Missouri, and you're staying in your spot. That's your lane.
That's it. Right in that sweet spot, right? You're hoping to find some ground. They're going to have 3 chances. Right now, there's 3 teams left on their schedule that are ranked. You have a chance to go out and change that narrative a little bit. But, hey, lose to Missouri, and you start to lose a little steam here.
You're sliding that past 35 and you lose to Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Stay in your 25-35, and you can pull a 7, probably no worse than 8.
Yeah.
In the NCAA tournament. You're alive for 7.
Now get this.
Sneak
team.
a win in the SEC tournament, you can move to 6.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, Bucky McMillan's style of coaching with this team that can't get hot in the way they play the game, get them in the tournament and see what happens. Right? They're a team, if you don't have much time to prepare for and you're a little fatigued and you're a little bit of adrenaline rush, like, this is a team that can run you out of the building.
Did you see what happened last night in college basketball?
No, what part?
Bloodbath. Absolutely. We're at the time of the year when you're in the final month that you're going to see results that make no sense. Teams are tired. Midweek conference games are a nightmare. So North Carolina won the game of the year against Duke on Saturday, hitting the shot as the buzzer hit 0. It was the first game-winning shot as the buzzer hit 0 for North Carolina in the history of the Duke series, which blew my mind. Miami upsets them 75-66. Purdue beats Nebraska in overtime, and Purdue jumped out, was leading that thing like 14-1, and had to win in OT. And Nebraska started 20-0, and they now got 3 losses. Upset number 3 on the night was Illinois losing to Wisconsin in overtime, 92-90. So Illinois top 10 team goes down. Iowa State is 5 in the country, and they go down in flames to TCU. Huh. So it's that time of the year. Teams are tired. Conference play is now the official grind of all grinds because you're in game number 12, 13, 15, month number 3. And certain teams have locked up their NCAA tournament spot. They don't care about the conference tournament. They don't want regular season titles. Their mind is floating. They're just already in March. You're going to see nights like this frequently in the month of February.
Yeah, and I think if, kind of fleshing it out, I think that benefits like a team like A&M where nothing is guaranteed. Everything is still fighting for position, respect, net ranking, all of that. And, so catch one team sleeping, right? Catch one of these top SEC teams who feel like they can sleepwalk a little bit towards the end, and A&M can find a way to beat them.
Don't be the sleeper. Don't be the sleeper. Catch the sleepers.
Sure.
Sleepy. I don't know.
Don't be sleepy.
You're the writer. How do these words work? I just say them. I don't know how they work.
Fair enough. Hey, don't be sleepy. Catch the sleeper.
Thank you. All right. Don't be the sleepy. Catch the sleepers. Tony, I wanted to talk Aggie football with you. And real quick here. I don't want to keep you all day. You got to eat. And, you got responsibilities and stuff. You actually work for a living, unlike me. But I noticed over on Twitter X, what's your handle?
Tony_Catalina.
He's the beat writer for the Austin American Statesman, the A&M beat writer. But you did this whole yesterday. I thought who'd be the breakout candidates for Aggie football. Today, I did the 3 transfer portal ads. You're starting to do this little Aggie football walk-up stuff.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? There's some exciting things to look at. Some of the breakout candidates are some people we know, right? Ray Coney, the linebacker, and, Isaiah Horton. We got some pieces here that could, I think are really exciting. Ricky Gibson, the second from Tennessee. I think anybody who's followed the transfer portal know that those 3 guys are going to be huge to the success of this team. I think Ricky has a chance to elevate the cornerback room. I think I had said it written in there that Ray Coney, I think, could be a better version in this defense than what Torian York was for this defense, just on a pure field. I don't know about the leadership. I'll give all the credit in the world to York as a leader and all of that. But on the field, bigger-bodied guy probably fits in this Elko system a little bit more better than that. Isaiah Horton can step in and be that true X receiver that A&M hasn't had since like Josh Reynolds. just a 6'4" guy. 50-50 ball is more like 80-20. Just a great playmaker, great athlete. Had 8 touchdowns last year on a college football playoff team. So really exciting to see those guys. I think they're going to be huge pieces of the puzzle.
Dude, go be awesome. What's your week ahead like?
Man, baseball, basketball.
Life is good.
Yeah, life is
good. Be awesome, brother.
You too.
Tony Catalina of the Austin American Statesman. It's an every Wednesday thing where he joins me inside the Charles Schwab studio. Low cost, full service, best of all local. How can Charles Schwab be local? Easy. Mark Sim is right here. Eat here, sleep here, live here, goes to the games here. Mark Sim right here in College Station. Find him online at schwab.com/College Station. Charles Schwab and Company Incorporated, member SIPC. I'll be right back. It's the Louie Belina Show Wednesday on the Zone.
You can hear Aggie Baseball online at RadioAggieland.com. RadioAggieland.com.
The Louie Belina Show rolling on a Wednesday. The Louie Belina Show presented by CC Electric. They have residential, commercial, and industrial services. That's CC Electric. Time now to listen in. A&M softball head coach Trisha Ford. They're going to the Clearwater Revival. Actually, I think that's a band. I know they're going to the Clearwater Classic Tournament. Epic, awesome, brutal field. Gonna be fun. Here's her preview.
What maybe is either cause or concern? You're going to play 4 weeks out of 5 on the road. So what's as a coach, and I know you had some of these players, but not all of them together.
Yeah. I'm excited. I think we're going to get tested this weekend. I think this past weekend, it was just a blessing to play in front of the 12th man, for the 12th man to show up the way they did. It's what I feel like Davis Diamond should look like every weekend. And so now it's time we kind of got our feet underneath us this weekend. We obviously had some tough matchups, but I thought overall played solid. Obviously having some things that we need to work on, but now it's being on the road 2 weekends in a row. We're going to go coast to coast, Florida, then California. And so now we're going to test the waters a little bit of just what that's going to feel like. I think communication is going to be the key on the field and those relationship pieces. And so we had talked a little bit about how I have focused in on making sure that our team chemistry and kind of those, just those relationships on and off the field are important, because we're going to go test it. And we have a lot of players that play in different spots this year. We have some new players. Talon's playing second base for the first time in her career. Work's been hurt most of her career, so hasn't played as much first base. And our outfield is very, new and fresh. So I think that piece is going to make or break us this weekend.
And I would assume leadership is more important on the road. And I know you played 5 games and you had some fall schedule. Is this a team that, long on leadership by standard, could use some more? Or what about leadership?
Yeah, I think leadership overall in this generation is hard. If I'm being very honest, they are so concerned with you not being likable or hurting somebody's feelings. I'll go on a tangent, but we used to fight and then be done with it, and now it turns into these long things that everybody has it on social media and it stays up there permanently, right? Like when you and I had a beef when we were growing up, we had a beef, there was nothing, and it was over and done with. And so I think that part is always hard for them and complicated. So what we talk about is maybe not being a leadership, but being a leader, but somebody who is being a good example, somebody who is communicating, somebody who is out there always representing our standard and clamp. And part of that is some of those leadership qualities, right? What are our traits? And so you might be really good at connecting with these type of players. So I need you to help us rally these people. Kay might be really good with this group. And so it's really important that we have a core group that can connect to different types of people, because that's what makes us great, and being able to bring those people along. And so I think for me, that's why I'm having a lot of conversations with Maya. Coach Harger talks to her quite a bit. Wark, Talon, KK, AK, Lessentine, like just a little bit of everybody. Frankie, I think for us, it's getting them to understand how to get out of their comfort zone. They are so infatuated with that stupid square thing. And so I've challenged a couple of them, like, you're going to go and you need to go have coffee with a teammate, or, whatever it is. a drink, iced coffee or whatever the energy drinks are, and they don't do that anymore. Whereas that's all I know, right? We didn't have anything else except our ability to talk face to face. So it's been good because some of them, we have a lot of quiet kids, if I could be honest with you. Like Maya's not really outgoing. She is outgoing when she knows you, but like when she first meets somebody, she's gonna like take in the situation. And I think we have a team full of that, of really hardworking players. And so now it's challenging them to have a voice on the field. It's almost like you have to have a second personality out on the field, and then you can be who you normally are, in everyday life. But when you're out on that field, there is an expectation and a demand of this is how you're going to play.
Y'all were really good on the road last year. Can you kind of just talk about that group of returners and experiencing that, and then knowing that they can go out and do that same thing?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with sticking with the plan, and that's not coach speak, but I mean understanding this is our process, this is how we execute it, and it really doesn't matter where we are, what day it is, what time it is. The standard is the standard. And so I think that group that just graduated, and then obviously ours that are returning, they went through it. We played one of the hardest schedules you could have played last year, and they won on the road, at home, in neutral sites. And so that's something that I'm hoping that as we move forward, it really isn't a thing. When we first got here, that was a thing. We did not win on the road. And really, it's just about a process. Like, can you execute this? And it doesn't really matter what inning it is, where you're, like I said, if you're at Davis or if you're at, Clearwater, it's being able to execute at high lever situations. And so that's why practice is so hard. I want practice to be really hard so that when it happens in a game, you've already done that 100 million times in your head, and it comes second nature.
Michaela said she was working with Harder on defensive stuff already this morning. Just kind of speak in that regard and just trying to clean up, and even if it was some jitters or.
Yeah, I think Mick, just impressed with her, and she's having some success, and that's a part. That's why I coach. Is yes, you want to see them be successful, but what you really want to see is their ability to put in hard work when people are not watching, and it come to fruition. And it's starting to come. You're starting to see that with her, and now she wants to do even more. And that's just kind of who she is, and that's what you want them to learn from this game, is what hard work and dedication and sacrifice, what that turns into in life. And so Mick, I think one of first thing this morning Coach Ruger said was, Mick's texting me, she wants to work on, a couple of things. And I'm like, and he goes, I love it. Like, how do you not as a coach want to go out there with a kid that just had probably one of the best weekends across the country, and she's the first one texting you, hey, can we work on X, And so that's what greatness looks like. That's when I say, I want you to chase greatness. That's what that looks like. And so excited. I think this weekend we did have some defensive errors that were not on my bingo card. So that's something that we're going to have to address. And obviously there's some things that we need to tidy up. And really, I felt like most of them were just communication ones. We had a couple physical errors. They're going to happen. But we did have more mental errors than I thought we should have. So something that we will obviously keep working on.
Michaela sort of revealed us on her whole injury history, the double torn ACLs with this guy, all that stuff. Just how impressive is it that she's here, right?
Yeah.
So many years later.
Yeah, it's a blessing. I think, that's how she looks at it, is that she has this last year, this opportunity to make the most of it, and she's making the most of it. That's how you got to live life, though. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. So she's like, hey, let's get out, let's get after it, let's rock and roll. I've had 4 ACLs. I'm very aware of what that does to your body. I probably have 2 more that are torn again, but I'm too old to deal with it. But, when you get your body in shape and you're strong and, do some things, I think good things happen. I mean, Lindsey Vaughn, isn't that her name, the skier that doesn't have an ACL either? And I know she crashed, but she didn't crash because of the ACL. She took a turn too quick or something, right? Yeah. So I think, it always comes back to work, preparation. That's what it always comes back to. But she's a neat story.
And going back to the chemistry thing, just how, I guess, vital is it, therefore, to have these experiences of going on the road to Florida, California, planes, buses, hotels, stuff like that, for the girls to really mesh?
Yeah, every level that I've coached anywhere from 14 and under, obviously to this level, even, with USA softball, they all talk about the first road trip. Like, that's where we bond, that's where things get together. So for me, it's important that we get on the road quickly, because I want them to experience that and just the different, like how the day's set up and how it runs, and it's just a lot more connectivity, I would say, with your teammates on the road. When you're here, you have your own space, your own people, your own routine. When you're on the road, we do almost everything, together. So for me, it's important to get on the road quickly, see what it looks like and feels like, and go from there.
And that being said, you've said several times you thrive on being the underdog, but in these 5 games this week, you're going to be the higher ranked. You're going to be the one that the coaches are going to tell their teams, hey, if we beat A&M,
yep.
So how do you handle that role?
Oh, I always find ways to be the underdog, yeah. I feel like I live life with a chip on my shoulder, so I think there's always ways. And, we still have last year as a really large chip on our shoulder, so that will always, drive us. But I think the other part of this is we also have to learn, and this is something, again, referring back to last year, is how to play or go into games as the top, the higher ranked team. And what does that look like? How do you play with people always chasing you? So I think when we took over this program, we were always the chaser, and now we are being chased, and that's a different conversation. And so that's something that I have to work really hard with our group of what that looks like and feels like. And really, it's the same thing. Like, go out and execute. It's not, it's not rocket science. But I find ways that somebody does something that, I have Hef on my staff. He finds something that, they've done us wrong.
What about no Taylor Brown? I guess, you talked about pitches going in and just we didn't see her on the Price Should Ask on Sunday, but it's too early in the morning. So,
Amen, Cease. I felt that. I feel like, I feel like just not the right opportunity came up for her. She's going to throw some live to our hitters tomorrow. I want to keep her fresh. There was, I really wanted to get Taylor Pinnell, honestly, in that Tech game, and it just, I'm a matchup girl, this, and I'm always going to look out for the best thing for our program, and so now we still have her in our back pocket, and they haven't seen her. So there's some good and bad with that. So I think with Taylor, she'll get some opportunities this year, and obviously this weekend just didn't pan out.
That was Trisha Ford, A&M softball head coach. A listening Clearwater preview. They're playing in the premier tournament in the country this upcoming weekend. And a reminder, you can hear all the A&M softball games on Willie 1550 AM and at radioaggieland.com. When we return, bye-bye, we're done. We're out of here. This is the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, and community. That is CC Electric.
An opinionist who happens to be an expert in his own mind. The Louie Belina Show. The Louie Belina Show. Weekdays 11 to 2 on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.